It seems, Jay, like we're just a bunch of goldfish that are swimming around, making loops in a little glass bowl. And every 30 seconds, we forget what we had heard before, and something becomes brand new news to us. And we hear the same news over and over again, whether it's Kathleen Kennedy getting fired, whatever. That's what it feels like when it comes to Disney Star Wars rumors. And we had another one pop up over the weekend, and it's about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It's hard to believe it's been, 3 years? It's been 3 years since Obi-Wan Kenobi came out on Disney Plus, somewhere around there. And this is one of those series that, despite the failures of the sequel trilogy, despite the disappointment that so many people had, despite all the bad shit that had come out, Ewan McGregor coming back, Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader, there was some people that decided, you know what? I'm willing to get hurt again. I'm going to get excited for this. I'm going to get hyped because I still care about this character. And Disney hasn't really done too much damage to him yet. Well, it was just a matter of time because Obi-Wan Kenobi season 1, the only season we've seen, was a disaster. It was very poorly received by the fan base. The ratings crashed after the opening episodes. It was a huge disappointment for Disney, and they got a lot of backlash for it. Why wouldn't they want to do it again? Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 gets major update 3 years after season 1 ended. Years after Obi-Wan Kenobi's run on Disney Plus, there may be news on whether the show will get more episodes. A new rumor indicated that a second season of Obi-Wan Kenobi's in development for Lucasfilm. Obi-Wan was originally billed as a limited series for Lucasfilm, giving star Ewan McGregor another chance to portray the character he made famous in Star Wars prequel trilogy. However, that status may be in line to change, with Lucasfilm and Star Wars hoping to bring another massive hit to Disney+. Scooper Daniel Rickman shared the rumor, but he gave no sign of when Obi-Wan's second season could go into production or be released on Disney+. And, these are a lot of the posts that were going out there. Anytime we talk about Daniel RPK, anytime we talk about Daniel Rickman, I have to remind everybody that this is a guy who puts his scoops behind a Patreon paywall, and over half of them usually turn out to be utter and complete fucking garbage. However, the story got legs, and people were running with it. It was being talked about a lot. What do you think the possibility is that we see Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2, Jay?
Judging by what Lucasfilm is constantly giving us, I think it's highly likely that we will see an Obi-Wan season 2. In fact, I'm all for it. I really hope. I want to see Reva back. I hope we get a Reva fighting the Emperor scene, Let's see what her true power is. Maybe Reva can now actually be the one that got the Death Star plans and hands them over, in a super secret side mission. Maybe they could rewrite that. Maybe Reva could talk Obi-Wan from jumping off a cliff. Maybe he's just dealing with depression or something. I don't know. And she's the one that saves the galaxy. Not only did she save Luke Skywalker, by not killing him in the end of Obi-Wan, she survived multiple lightsaber stabbings and whatever. I mean, she's the hero that we need to see on the screen for Obi-Wan season 2, because what a masterpiece it was. Ewan McGregor has constantly stated that he'd love to come back for an Obi-Wan season 2 because he's probably not doing anything at the moment. So if they're well, Ewan McGregor's on board, why don't we just put something together? So it wouldn't surprise me if they did that.
It wouldn't surprise me either because,
by the way, I think it's stupid. So
it wouldn't surprise me either because it would be a terrible thing to do. The first one was a terrible thing to do. Reminder, we had 2, not 1, but 2 Obi-Wan Vader rematches in this series, which, for the record, never fucking happened.
Yeah.
Right. This entire show never fucking happened. Disney Star Wars didn't really happen. It's all fucking bullshit. But yeah, Reva was insufferable, but Reva is the 3rd or 4th worst thing about.
Correct.
It, right. What they did to Obi-Wan, I think, is the bigger problem and what most fans had the problem with. Reva shouldn't even been there. There's no purpose for the character. It was stupid. But that was what so much of the media attention was focused to because of the backlash to the series. They just wanted to say it's all racist that don't like a black woman in this story. When in the reality, the criticism for the character, what they did, the damage they did to a character people cared about, there was much more talk about that than about Reva's cringe part in it. And
awful.
season 1 was a nightmare. I think like it was one of the big turning points, right? Sequel trilogy certainly was a big one. Last Jedi was a big one for a lot of people to step out after what they did to a character they cared about. But when the Obi-Wan Kenobi series came out, you saw a lot of excitement surrounding it, a lot of maybe hesitant from some, but there was real interest in it because with all the shit we'd seen them do, we hadn't seen them fuck with some of the prequel characters yet. Then you get the same exact treatment for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and a bunch of other people said, you know what? I'm fucking done.
The fact that you have Hayden and Ewan back together and people hated it should have been a massive red flag to everyone over at Lucasfilm. These people just love sniffing their own farts and saying it's great. That's all I'm saying. It's like you're bringing back these two people, and it's just they should have. My theory was, I think they could have gotten away with that show if they had like Obi-Wan in his cave checking on Luke every now and then going back to his cave and having like a time of like a flashback to maybe something in the Clone Wars. And that's it. That's it. Like, don't touch anything. Like, don't mess with anything. And he's just like remembering, like he sees something, a trinket. And he's like, oh yeah, that's from the Battle of wherever. And they do a couple episodes of like a flashback scene or whatever. The de-aging that they used in that series was also the like horrendous. You know, it's bad when like they had like Hayden try to make him look like Attack of the Clones Hayden, and then a YouTuber's like, "Oh, this is awful. I can do it better with the equipment I have on my PC. I can make it look better."
I think it's because they didn't really de-age him. Like maybe they just
put his hair up and everything.
I think they maybe just tried with makeup, but I don't think they actually did any like digital de-aging in the sequence. So he looked his age, right? He didn't look 20. He looked his age for that sequence. And I do think when you look at when he came back in Ahsoka, I think he looked better there. I think almost all of that is just because of his hair, right? It's because his hair covers much more of his face.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't really see some of the age as much. I think that's why it happened. But yes, it was rough.
Yeah. I just think if they were going to do a show, I think that would be the only way that they could have pulled that off, is if he just remembered like an old adventure that they went on, and they just did that.
That's not so. Look, if you're going to make this, and this is the time period it's going to be set in, it should be Obi-Wan trying to get in contact and commune with Qui-Gon, trying to learn things, that what he was set out to do, and also overseeing and protecting Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
It should not be a gallivanting around the galaxy thing. It should not be rematches with Darth Vader. It shouldn't be any of this shit. It should be a very limited scope of a show and very much about like a personal story with Obi-Wan. There's a book out there called Kenobi. I think it was by John Jackson Miller. That's what that is. Now, you can have elements. It doesn't mean you can have no action or no anything else, right? It's a story about a guy who used to be a Jedi and is still, but he is trying desperately to stay off the radar. He can't be on the radar, right? The fate of everything is at stake. He can't be on the radar. So you have him sitting there and you see people that might get into trouble. He might go into town for supplies and somebody might need help, and he has to make these decisions and wrestle with himself and, you know, maybe even have these arguments with himself whether he should help or should not help. And that's what it should be about. And him reflecting on his perceived failures as a master, his perceived failures as a friend, his perceived failures as a quasi-father figure. Like, that's what the show is. It can't be galactic wide. It can't be him breaking into fucking Inquisitor headquarters and sneaking Leia out with a fucking trench coat.
That was probably the most hideous of all. Everything about that was just, and then coming up to like a laser gate where you could clearly see, you could just calmly walk around it. Or they throw a little fire on the ground and Vader's like, I can't go any further. There's fire. Help me. Oh my gosh. They approved that, man. They freaking approved that and said this was good. Unbelievable.